Anthem. Show of hands in the down below area. How many of you got it at launch? How many of you are still playing it? Have you gone back to it since launch in the subsequent patches? Are you still bitterly disappointed? Did you never stop playing? What's your deal with Anthem? Were you waiting and seeing how it went and never end up buying it because of the catastrophe that wound up being its launch? I got it at launch. In fact, I pre-ordered it. I know, never pre-order a game, whatever. And I liked it mechanically. Like, it felt good to be Iron Man and fly around the environment. The flight felt good. The weapons felt good. I liked the sort of general idea of the crafting system. I liked the loot chase concept. And I wanted it to be an ever game. I've been looking for my ever game for kind of a couple of years now, and I've tried a few things and sort of maybe stuck with a few things, but then drifted away from them. But I haven't just found that ever game that I like to call, that it ticks along in the background between sort of big releases that I just go back to evening after evening. At the moment, that's Dauntless for me. I love Dauntless, mechanically satisfying. I love the boss fight mechanics. I love the loot chase. I love the sort of fiddling around with different builds and combinations of weapons and cells and powers and abilities and things like that. But it's not a particularly deep game. Very satisfying, and I love playing it in short bursts, but it's not very deep. I can't really dig into it very far. And so that kind of limits the satisfaction. And that's why I've been looking for other ever games. I mean, I've tried things like Fallout 76 at launch, which we all know how that went. And of course, Anthem, No Man's Sky a couple of years ago, which has only just become playable 2 years after launch. They had another big content patch, and it's finally delivering on what the game originally promised. And it is actually a fun game, but it's kind of too little too late at this point. I put in another 60 or 70 hours of it, but then I went, not quite there. I tried WoW Classic for my ever game. My new hopes are pinned. Hopes are pinned. That turned into hymns somehow. My new hopes are pinned on Phantasy Star Online 2 and its impending launch. Free-to-play MMO kind of game, similar to like Destiny 2 and Anthem in many ways, and that's based around sort of instanced explorations into the world and loot chases and grinds and stuff like that. But there's a reason 7 years after launch, it's still one of the most popular MMORPGs in Japan, second only to Final Fantasy 15, I think. Or was it 15 or 14? Which one's the online one? Whatever that is. I always get the two confused. But I keep hoping that Anthem has its No Man's Sky moment, that the developers just shut up, go away, fix it, make it what it should have been in the beginning, and then just release a big content page, go, here you go, here's the game you actually paid for. Is it going to be too little too late by then? I don't know, but they did just post a blog today. Casey Hudson, the general manager of BioWare, posted a blog on this very subject. So I'm going to sort of go through it here. He says, 1 year ago, we were preparing to launch Anthem, a game that represented a big leap into new territory for us as a studio. Yeah, EA kind of forced them to make a game they didn't want to make in the first place, so goes the story. It was exhilarating and terrifying experience to go out in the world with something new and different, and we were grateful to all the players who have come along with us on the journey. It has been a thrill for us to see the creativity of our players in designing customized javelins and watching them master Anthem's flying and fighting gameplay. Just crappy spin at this point. I'm not sure how many people are actually still enjoying that. I'm so proud of the work the team has put into this game, and at the same time, there's so much more that we and you would have wanted from it, which is kind of a soft pedal way of saying, we tried, but we were forced to do things we didn't want to do, and then the game wasn't what it wanted, and you guys got angry at us for it, and they can't just go, oh, we effed up. They have to sort of soft pedal at PR. I mean, this has gone through 6 or 7 different PR people, I guarantee you, and lawyers probably. Over the last year, the team has worked hard to improve stability, performance, and general quality of life while delivering 3 seasons of new content and features. I walked away long before that happened. I'm not sure what quality of life has to do with making the game better. I had no real problem with general interface or gameplay flow or anything. It's the content. There was no content. There was like 5 different kinds of missions, and all they were basically the same. Go fly to this area, shoot a bunch of enemies, pick up the loot, maybe do a little hunt and peck for sort of a thing on a little radar, rinse, repeat. And while mechanically it's fun to fly around and shoot and stuff, like I said before, it's not fun to play. Mechanically fun, not a fun game. The quality of life improvements of making crafting faster, or whatever they've done, is not how you make this game fun. So we recognize there's still some fundamental work to be done to bring out the full potential of the experience, and will require more substantial reinvention than the update or expansion. You're dead right. Basically, what he said here is, we tried to patch the game, but even we know it's not good enough. This isn't what we should be doing. Over the coming months, we will be focusing on a longer-term redesign of the experience, specifically working to reinvent the core gameplay, the loop with clear goals, motivating challenges and progression with meaningful rewards, while preserving the fun of flying and fighting in vast science fantasy setting. And to do that properly, we'll be doing something we'd like to have done more of the first time around, if EA let us. Giving a focus team the time to test and iterate, focusing on gameplay first. You got to read between the lines. There's a lot of shade being thrown at EA because, as the story goes, as we talked about, EA was responsible for pushing this thing out before it was ready, and EA were responsible for telling them to do things they didn't want to do. And what are you going to do? It's EA. They're just going to bully you into submission, aren't they? In the meantime, we will continue to run the current version of Anthem, but move away from full seasons as the team. So basically they're saying, well, we're just going to let it ride for a little bit, but we're not going to work on any new content. We're not going to sort of take any more money from you for seasons and whatever, season passes or whatever they're freaking doing. I'm not even sure how the monetization works anymore. It's been so long since I've even thought about Anthem. We'll keep the game going with events, store refreshes, of course, and revisiting past seasonal and Cataclysm content. So they're going to go into repeat mode, basically. They're putting this content into syndication while they work on some real stuff. Starting with their anniversary rewards towards the end of the month. I might pop back in for the anniversary just to see how things have progressed sort of mechanically in the game and see what quality of life improvements they've done. But I'm not expecting to stick with it for very long because, again, the gameplay loop gets very boring very quickly. Creating new worlds is central to our studio mission, but it's not easy. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we miss. And that's such a PR line. Do a Google search for variations of the phrase. Sometimes we get it wrong, sometimes we get it right, sometimes we miss. Or sometimes we hit the target, sometimes we don't quite get it right. Fallout 76 said this, and No Man's Sky said this, and every game that's been a miserable launch has said some version of this phrase. Oh, sometimes, making games is tricky. Sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. It's kind of such a soft pedal way to go, oh, we really effed up here. Whoops! But you can't admit faults directly like that because the lawyers won't let you. Your feedback gives us guidance to how we can improve, and your passion inspires us with the courage to create. Really? Your playbase is passionate? I can think of one kind of passion that's been directed your way, and particularly EA's way, for taking the blame for ruining this. I mean, a lot of people come to BioWare's defense because BioWare have sort of built up a fair amount of goodwill over the years with the other stuff they've done. We don't want to hate BioWare. We want to root for them. But it's difficult. They make it difficult. I look forward to working together with you on your involvement and feedback towards the best possible future for Anthem. In other words, if it's bad the next time around, it's your fault, because we took your advice. We were listening to you when we made the changes. I might be being a bit harsh on some of this, but fact is, it looks like they are indeed trying to get their No Man's Sky moment. And all credit to Hello Games. I gave them a very hard time for about a year and a half through various updates and things like that, and particularly Sean Murray, who is a known liar. Casey Hudson from BioWare, who is not a known liar. His name doesn't stick out to me as someone who's full of absolute crap, like Sean Murray from Hello Games is. But are you ready to come back to Anthem? Say they do get their next 2.0 update and completely rejigger the game from the ground up, from the inside out. So you've got all the sort of satisfying shooting and flying and crafting and sort of Iron Manning about and superpowers and everything like that. But there's a gameplay loop that is actually rewarding, encouraging, fun, deep, and sort of just keeps you wanting to come back to it night after night. Because that's kind of what Dauntless's Hunt Pass system is. I was resistant to the Hunt Pass at first because I thought, charging me for seasonal content. But the way they do the Hunt Pass and the way they do the quests, and you can select your own sort of 4 quests at a time and earn points towards the Hunt Pass, that whole system, it's tough to explain if you're not familiar with Dauntless. If you play Dauntless, you know what I mean. But point is, they've got a system in play that helps keep me wanting to keep playing. I've always got a new target to shoot for. There's always a new twist, and you got to do a hunt this way or do it with this weapon, and it keeps me playing, and it keeps me changing up my playstyle. It keeps me interested, and it keeps me invested in it in a really interesting and compelling way, despite the game being, the actual gameplay loop being relatively thin. Gear up, fight a monster, collect loot, craft, upgrade over and over and over again. But I like that about it. But again, coming back to where I opened with, I do want a deeper ever game. I wanted it to be 76. I wanted it to be Anthem. I wanted it to be WoW Classic. None of them quite stuck over the last sort of year and a half. I've tried those various games. And again, Phantasy Star Online 2 is my next big hope. But if that fails, perhaps Anthem 2.0, Anthem Next, Anthem Ultimate, whatever they title their big, feature update. I don't know, man. I don't know. I almost want BioWare to do what happened to Destiny and just have the developers of Bungie just split. Bungie got out of under the shadow of the corporate monstrosity. I want BioWare to just escape from EA. There's a movie called Escape from LA. Just made me think of that. The pause there was my brain going, make an Escape from LA joke. No one's going to get that. Except for some of my fellow Gen Xers, I guess. Remember that movie? No, it's a shit movie, but it was a good shit. Unlike this, which is currently bad shit. Hopefully it becomes good shit, or just genuinely good at some point. Thanks for watching. I am Blunty. We'll catch you next time. I was going to sign off and say thank you. What's the name for the people who fly the Iron Man's things in? But I keep going to say, it's not Slayers. Is it mentioned in the thing? I don't know. What was the term for it? What was the term for the pilots of the thing? I've forgotten. That's how much disappointed I was from this. I just sort of started to blank it out. I was so hyped for it, but I just had to delete parts of my memory of it to save me from being all pouty about how much money I spent on it and the fact that I pre-ordered it. And it does look pretty though, doesn't it? Look at it. It's just a nice looking game. If only it was fun.